So let us discuss the 13th May 2015 newspaper. The first important editorial, it is related to the grant of citizenship to Bangladeshi Hindus. Now in a case filed by two NGOs, that is Swajan and Bimalangshu Roy Foundation, it was pleaded that the Hindus and persons of other minorities from Bangladesh migrating to India to escape religious persecution shall not be treated as like other illegal immigrants. So, in this case, the BJP government is formalizing a policy to this effect to grant citizenship to these Bangladeshi Hindus. In this context, if you can see broader ideological position of the BJP, what it says is, anywhere in the world where Hindus are prosecuted, then India shall be a natural homeland for them to settle. That is what is the BJP tried to provide in its manifesto too. So it is more akin to the law of return principle in Israel. According to that, any person of Jewish community, he has a right to live and seek for a citizenship within Israel. Now, here there is a problem. One thing is, the time period is the major issue. If it has been said that after 1971, any person who migrated to India shall be given a citizenship, it means it is going to put the Bangladesh in a bad light in the world, which says that the Bangladesh is failing to provide protection to its minorities. So it may damage the India's relations with its neighbor, which are getting restored now. In this context, what we can say is, India shall have a policy on refugees, or India shall sign 1951 UN Refugee Convention. If it would have signed this convention, then India is obliged not to send refugees back when they have these fears of persecution when they move back to their mother country. So India did not sign this. So what it has been said is, India shall have a permanent policy instead of ad hocism in this particular issue. The next thing is, it is related to the so-called US Commission on International Religious Freedom on this particular report. This report categorizes the countries into Tier 1 and Tier 2 countries. The Tier 1 countries, they are called as CPCs, that is countries of particular concern. The Tier 2 countries are called as or countries under watch list. Now, from very long back, India was placed under these countries of watch list because of its poor record of protection of the rights of the minorities. In this context, India's position is about to be moved on to the countries of particular concern because of the recent increased attacks on the minorities, especially irresponsible derogatory comments from the people attached to the ruling party, and increased attacks on the Christian religious institutions made this particular commission to take such an opinion. What this article says is, instead of declaring this particular commission's report, which is done after due diligence by United States Commission, India shall also play or else give a heed to this report and make necessary corrections. If you can see, last week there was an editorial. What it says is this: an image of India is more and more reflected to what extent it is giving protection to its minorities, how secular tolerant the society is. It is not just the economic growth or diplomatic maneuvering that raises the status of India. So it means on this front, if India has certain drawbacks, it is the time it shall correct these things, is the essence of the article. Next is agrarian distress. So it is related to land acquisition policy. In this context, the writer, what she clearly says is, in this acquisitions and counter acquisitions, the persons who are not heard of is the farmers. So, what are the reasons for the farmer suicides? Among all the different people, farmers are the one who has relatively pride in their particular profession. In this context, the government says that it provides for four times the value of the land if it is taken by the government. Then the first question is, what if it is the farmer is not interested to provide the land? So, if farmer has provided the land, then what government if provides for an alternative cultivable land to him so that he can sustain its livelihood? In spite of government promising one job for the family, it is ultimately going to create a cheap labor to the industries which are going to come further. It will not sustain the joint families and other families which are in combined cultivation in India. So another thing is, the government or the private entities which did not use the land has to resubmit the land to its original owners after 5 years. That is the clause which the existing government wants to remove. So in this context, so what it has been said is the government is going to act as a mediator to provide the cultivable land to the industrialists, and in this context it is going to raise the resentment of the farmers. Now in this case, previously there was an article, let us try to recollect. So that particular article said that almost there were 60 million of displaced people in India. Not more than 1/3 were rehabilitated. And the second thing is, there is an economic and social dimension to this displacement. Most of the people displaced are on subsistence living and they belong to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. In this case, there is a sense of alienation, hurt, cynicism, and this is drawing them into a vicious cycle of violence and counter-violence. In most of the countries, taking the consent of the displaced people and also the social impact assessment are seen as means of conflict prevention. So the present government removing these particular provisions is seen as a retrogressive step. Next is AICTE. The colleges which are applying, engineering colleges which were applying to AICTE, in their data it was found that more than 50,000 teachers who are being listed in this particular colleges are having duplicate mentions in different colleges. So in this context, it is going to decrease the quality of education, the first thing. And the second thing is, the poor employability of Indian engineering students can be related to the poor quality of teaching, which can be related to the unavailability of the teachers. The present teacher-student ratio has to be 1:15, and professor, associate and assistant professor, it has to be 1:2:6, which is blatantly violated by most of the engineering colleges in India. So in this reason, especially in the era of demographic dividend, such as low quality education is going to deprive the people or this young population of the necessary opportunities created in the globalized world. And the next is, an important article today is about the India's need to focus on northwest frontier. Now what this article says is, India is losing strategic influence and geopolitical standing in northwest frontier. It highlights majorly with regarding to Afghanistan, and second is Iran. Now, with regard to Afghanistan, we know recently President Ghani visited India. In spite of his visit, no concrete agreement was undertaken. Now, if you see Mr. Karzai's era, India is the first country with which Afghanistan signed a strategic partnership agreement in 2011. Now in this case, what are the dynamic changes that are coming on the northwest frontier of India? The first thing is the US troop withdrawal. So once the US moves away from Afghanistan, there will be a huge power vacuum will be created. Who is going to fill this power vacuum is the major question. Now, author says that the China is the first in the list. The reasons are many. One thing is, the Afghanistan need economic stability, and which the China can guarantee, And if China can bring in certain investments in its as One Belt and one Road initiative, then that is going to improve the economic stature and stability of Afghanistan. Second thing is, the China has the good standing in Afghanistan or in Pakistan. It helps it helps to bring the Pakistan on the negotiation table, and also for the Pakistan to leverage its influence with Taliban, where the negotiations with Taliban can lead to sustaining peace in Afghanistan. And the third thing is, the China is also responsible for the tripartite negotiations or trilateral engagement between Afghanistan, Pakistan and China itself. This trilateral engagement is going on under the supervision of China. And next one is, the second thing is of Pakistan reapproachment. If you can see that there is a tone of reconciliation in the voice of the President Ashraf Ghani. So it has been explained that President Ghani wants to have a lasting peace, and he believes that the negotiations with Taliban is only the way out, where Pakistan yields a considerable influence. And in this context, he has drafted his five-circle foreign policy. In this five-circle foreign policy, Pakistan comes up in the first circle, India is placed somewhere around the fourth circle. So it means, it shows the Afghanistan probably moving away from India and its influence. And next is the growing Islamic terrorism in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and also raising influence of Islamic State. And also the chief of Islamic State, Mr. Alu, I don't remember his name. So the chief of Islamic State and his particular mention of Kashmir, it also poses no new threats to India. That is Abu Bakr Baghdadi. His name is Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. So it says that he has specifically referred to the atrocities against the Muslims in Kashmir. So now, in these circumstances, it is posing new threats and challenges, are providing dangerous implications to India. And the next thing is related to the Iran. If you can see that India voted against Iran in IAEA. Now, in the meanwhile, China has stood by the Iran. So now China is reaping the reward of standing by Iran in West Asia. So though India is reapproaching to Iran by building an MOU on Chabahar port, but however a kind of mistrust exists. And if you know that, if you recollect the past, the Iran is the most trusted partner in West Asia for India. Iran generally opposed to Pakistan because of Pakistan's lenience towards the Saudi Arabia and United States, which Iran has a strategic, hatred or else. There's a problem with these two countries because of its racial and ethnic compositions. So now again, in this context, the author analyzes the weaknesses of Indian diplomacy to focus on the northwest frontier. The first thing is, Indian diplomacy is unnecessarily focused or over-focused on great powers. And also, it is trapped in bilateralism. And third thing is, there is a jingoism and also there is a strained dialogue relationship with Pakistan. So we don't continue a sustained dialogue with Pakistan. So that is the reason why Islamabad is proactively engaged to harm the interests of India in South Asia and also on the global platforms. So in this context, what it is suggested is, India has to move away from the bilateral engagement to much larger regional engagement, making the China as the partner in that negotiation, in that particular engagement. And second is, it shall continue an effort and sustainable negotiations with the Pakistan. This is what is the opinion of this particular author. And next is, these are the articles which we have covered. And one more thing which I wanted to discuss is about Modi's visit to the China. So there are few things. One is e-visas is about to be signed. So already we discussed about this e-visas in the previous session. Now, the security, especially China, is placed under the country of concern. So there is a governmental policy on security clearances to countries of concern. So the security clearances to countries of concern, the China is also one among them. Others are Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc. None of these countries were interested to invest in India other than China. So, because of this bureaucratic hurdles, many of the Chinese investments are going back. The Chinese ambassador said that it is one of the reasons for the widening of the gap between India and China's deficit. So, Chinese investments are unable to flow to India because of these reasons. And if you can remember, there is a Chinese motor company that is called Beike Photon. This also has downsized its investment because of the general mistrust of the Indian government. Now what the government of India is thinking is, it is going to change this country of concern to the investment of concern. It means it is going to see a particular specific investment which may be a threat to the national interests of India, not a blanket cover of each and every investment flowing from China that is related to the e-visas. And second thing is, during this visit, we can see engagement with regard to the, or else we can see engagement with regard to the bilateral various boundary dispute, etc. But I don't expect a positive outcome on that front. And the Global Times of China, a newspaper close to the Communist Party, it criticized Prime Minister Modi's visit to Arunachal Pradesh, and it also demanded that India shall stop all cooperation to Dalai Lama. And one more thing is, the positive thing is, both the countries are going to upgrade their border defense cooperation agreement, which was signed in 2013. These positive things can be expected over here. So then, thank you very much.